Guys, sorry about the lateness. We are still kind of fiddling with our equipment, trying to get you all a better like sound quality and all that stuff, which we're working on. So please be patient with us. We're new at this, so we're just kind of coming along slowly and trying to do that because there's a lot of moving parts in all this because we're also teaching and coaching and all kinds of other stuff, doing socials. So anyway, here we are. This is Tuesday instead of Monday. We're here for our next phase of our choreography workshop in which we just take a piece of a song, we do a choreography to it, we clean up that choreography and we talk about the meaning of the movements and so forth, and then we do a little mock performance at the end. So, and with each piece we're trying to it's a fusion of styles, but we want to learn something new in each one and try a little bit of something new out in each one and also kind of play with our stage presence and again infusing meaning into the movement and what we want to say to our audience. So that's what we're here for. So normally we have a little get ready for the morning routine beforehand to warm up. We didn't have that today, so I do want to start with a little warm up because I'm like super serious about that. Like really get yourselves moving before you dance anywhere. It'll prevent injury later on, especially if you do a lot of it or you're doing movements that you want to make a little more extreme at some point. So let's just take a few moments to circle our arms. This will be a quick one so we can get started because I'm going to talk about some of the elements we're going to be using and start just a little bit of choreography today. And just elbows up and elbows down. The flight of the chicken and the front. So this is a very quick one. I like slow warm-ups, but since kind of short time today, we're just going to make a really quick one. And shoulders up and down. And shoulders rolling back. And shoulders rolling forward. And let's practice arms up and to the side. And to the other side. And back and forth a couple times. And switching back up. And we roll slowly down. Roll up. And roll down. And up. And roll down. This time put your hands wherever they reach. Above your knees and your shins, on feet, on the floor. And stay there. And just bend your knees and stretch up. And each time try and fold your body a little closer to your legs. And then come up, flat back. And slowly lean to the back. And let's do some knee bends while we're there. Just up and down. Just up and down so that we get our knees warmed up. Knees are a very sensitive thing, and there's something you really want to take care of and be aware of. And get something to hang on to. One stretch. I may hop on up after this and stretch a little more. I don't have a routine prepared for you guys, but we can at least chat. And I encourage you to also stretch on your own whenever you can. That's what I would encourage everybody to do because flexibility will help you so much in dance and life whenever. So stretching out our calves here. And give your ankle just a little wiggle back and forth. That up. And let's do the same to the other side. So we're rushing through this, but I don't want to go in completely cold. So if you guys, when you're normally tuned in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, either please try and make the one of the morning routines with us, or warm yourself up a little bit. Just make sure your body's already moving, no matter how small the movements. If you go into something cold, it's very easy to just, to feel a little twinge, and then you think, it's nothing, and you keep going, and the twinge turns into something pretty gnarly. So, okay, just shifting your weight forward, onto the balls of your feet. So you wanna, this is again, for Latin dance, roll your shoulders back so your chest is nice and high. So, you wanna, the lower part of your back is gonna push you forward, so you're mostly straight, so you have a little lean here, so you don't have to really tuck under, but you want everything pretty tight here. And it's like someone took you forward, so you're not bending here, staying straight like a board, but your weight is with the balls of your feet. And just kind of tap those heels up and down. Being right there. And just one last thing before we go. I just want to twist a little bit. So just twisting from one side to the other. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Bachata. That comes from the Dominican Republic, and there's different styles of it. So the original one, it's mostly if you go there, it's mostly just kind of stepping, but it's not so easy if you haven't grown up doing it. So that's something we're gonna just kind of try out this time. And then we have the more Americanized version, which is also stepping, but just using a lot of hip movements. And we have, which we're not going to touch on too much, but we are going to use some movements from it. It's called Bachata Sensual. Sensual Bachata, which is when you're standing very close to your partner and he is guiding your body in whatever kind of circular movements. So, things like waves, going around, and you're isolating parts of your body. So we're going to try and include elements from those three categories into our piece, just to get a little practice at them. But let's start again with our basic bachata. So this is the bachata step. So we're going to start going to our right. We're right, left, right, tap, left, right, left, tap. So that's our step. Step right. Bring your left foot to it. Step right, and then tap your left foot on the ground. And then step left, bring your right foot to it, step left, and tap right. So it's right, together, right, tap, left, together, left, tap, 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 right, tap, left, tap, right, tap, left, tap, right, tap, left, tap, right, tap, left, tap. So, it's generally not a very fast dance, and that's your basic counts. 8 counts, or you can break it into 4. And the other count you'll meet is just usually stepping from side to side. So instead of the right, left, right tap, you'll be stepping right, tap, left, tap. So you usually meet that when you are either kind of changing, you need to make a left change. So in bachata, a lot of times the music kind of, it doesn't hold a constant rhythm, it kind of starts again, and you need to get on the music, change legs. Sometimes you'll do a little cha-cha to get on the other leg, so that's just something to be aware of. And while he's doing or she's doing whatever, you just step, tap, step, tap. So that also exists. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about what your body is doing during this. I usually show from the back because when I face you, it gets more confusing, but don't worry so much about which foot you start on right now, because that's gonna differ whether you're falling or leading, but so one thing we use a lot is hip isolations. So when we say hip isolations, we don't really mean like the actual hip. We're more talking about a movement that comes from around the middle of your rib cage. So it's like a bell, right? So instead of going like this with your hips, just the hips, you are using this entire part of your body. So if you notice, I am kind of swinging back and forth. I say thank you to Dreadhead. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. We really appreciate that. So if you see, we've got our knees kind of bending, and this kind of pulse, you meet it a lot in a lot of Latin dance, where your knees are just kind of going up and down with your stepping. So this is one thing that we're probably gonna be doing more of, is just bending and straightening, because you kind of feel like you've been squatting after a while of doing that at first. So we wanna start that, and we're doing a hip isolation, so if we just wanna kind of swing back and forth like a bell, you see we're down at the bottom here, knees are a little more bent, and they're straightening up to allow our bottom half of our body to swing to the side. Now you wanna try not to get a lot of knee movement there, you're trying to really just use mostly this part of your body. So this is your movement for your hips, right? Because it may look, sometimes it's a little bit deceiving how things look when people are doing it. It looks like they're doing a lot with their hips, but it's really, you're using this whole bottom half of your body. So if you're stepping, if you want to do some hip movements with your bachata, if you're stepping right, now the weight transfer is something we've talked about a lot, right, on this channel. So you know, you walk heel toe, but when you're transferring weight, we do a little exercise where we're stepping and we're bringing all of our weight right over our feet as we're stepping. You know, like an ice skater is going along and they have to be on their leg to move forward. We're just trying to balance on each leg and balance and balance. This is something we do a lot, so if you want to join us for the warm-up, we're going to bump that up a little bit, some of these exercises, because I feel they're really important, because at first it feels like it's kind of awkward to bring all of your weight right over your foot. You know, our natural inclination is just to kind of bring it forward slowly from heel to toe. So that's something to think about as we're doing this. And if you want to add hips to your basic bachata, the next version, you're going to step on your right leg. And you're going to bring all of your weight over it, but you're going to leave your hip behind. So you're going to step. See, this one is kind of going up. And then you're gonna bring your weight to this one. When you bring it in, you're gonna shift your weight there. So I'm bringing it in, I'm shifting my weight, my left foot. And because I'm stepping down on it deep, this hip is going up. So I'm stepping down, my weight's going on my right foot, my left hip is shooting up. And then I bring it in. So when I bring it in, I'm bringing it in kind of deep into the floor. If you're stepping on something, and the other hip is going up. And with the tap, you can bring this hip up a little bit, go back, so boom, that goes up. And then we'll go the other direction, so I'm stepping on my left, all my weight's going over it. Then bring that hip up, bring it in, the weight goes there, and that hip goes up. And stepping on the other foot, so it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Instead of going here, right, which is kind of a jazz, we'll do maybe a little bit of that in the choreo too. We are going the opposite. We're taking this out. You may want to, just to be conscious of maybe a little bit of your abdomen in there, kind of the side stretching it out. That's what I feel when I'm doing that, to get that movement. So you get this kind of swinging movement as you're going. Exercise to that, I'm also thinking of doing kind of an isolations class that You're just kind of rocking back and forth using that movement because you are also bending and straightening the whole time. So it's not quite as simple as it looks, to get it smooth. You want to be using all these components. So when you're in the morning routine, I often talk about having your legs being tree trunks, imagining that they're rooted into the floor and the roots are going deep, deep, deep into the floor. That is kind of the first step into what we call grounding, meaning you have styles like ballet, which are, very kind of light and you're trying to act like you're getting away from the floor. But in Latin dance and a lot of other styles, what you want to feel is that you're heavy, is that you're filled with wet sand and you're just kind of rooted to the ground, right? You don't want to be carrying weight above it. You want to be one with the earth. So that's why we practice that in the morning routine. And that's also what you want to think about when you're taking a step, is you're deep into the ground. This is just kind of a quick version. We're going to get into more detail of all these things, and they're all things that take time if you've never done them before. So, don't worry, we're going to go over this many, many, many more times. We do it for years when we're dancing. So, again with isolations, let's stay down at the hips. So, we have little things like hip circles, which is just hip circle. We use it sometimes as a stylistic thing, sometimes to fill a couple of beats. You got it's changing rhythm again, or you just need a filler there. You can do a little one like, bring your hips around. And that hip circle is again from here. It's not your hips going around, it's this whole body going around. They can be big or small, but usually they're small. They're not very exaggerated. And what you want to watch out for is you're not bending your whole body forward. You're just keeping this straight. It's just kind of little circle to the back. You can go either way. And that's, it's stylistic and it's a filler. So we'll be doing a little bit of that. So your upper body, we've been beginning, and this is stuff from our morning routine. We have to switch times a little bit to give ourselves more time in the morning because it's all progressive, and as we do more and more, we kind of run out of time. So let me know if you guys prefer earlier or later. I have to ask the morning people too. So I want you to think about your rib cage. So, we can bend from the waist, but there's not a lot of that in Latin social dance. We generally want to keep our shoulders and our hips in a square. So something we do just about every day in our morning stuff, or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at least, is we shift our weight from foot to foot. So keeping that square, we're going to push down on our left leg and slide that square over a flat surface to our right. So all of our weight is on our right, and then we're going to slide it back over. So all of your weight is on your left. So we're just sliding that square back and forth. Now, of course, the square is going to tilt once we start doing our steps, but we want to keep this in mind that this square exists, and we're going to return to it. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you for being here. So that is another component of it. And when we're moving our upper body, be conscious of your hips are kind of moving independently. You don't want this to interfere with your downward movement. Again, there are styles where your whole body is kind of moving in one piece. Here, you're kind of isolating your top and bottom halves. So our top half, of course, we're moving our arms. Again, something we work on is lifting our arms, not from the hands or for our whole arms, but from the elbows. So those elbows are kind of driving the movement. So if we're making kind of movement, we're bringing it up with our elbows leading, right? So this is some practice. Your elbows are going to be lifting your arms and making your movements here. Don't forget about your hands too. Usually we do a hand warm up even. So we've got everything moving. And your upper body, we do isolations from our rib cage. So it's really kind of bending from just the upper parts and also your rib cage, it's like it's popping out, right? So this is another isolation we do. You can go back and forth, like here, front and back. Anyway, we're gonna get more into that stuff, because I do wanna get to at least do a few steps today. But these are very important elements of it. See, above all, there's so many things to think about, whenever you're dancing, there's a million body parts, and on top of that, you're learning steps, and then when you learn those, you've got to be performing, because what's most important to your audience is that they're looking at your face, they're looking at your expression. You can't think about everything at once. This is always a problem because, you get the classes where there's no corrections and you're like just learning steps. It's okay, but if you want to go more in depth, you want to improve yourself, you need that third eye, somebody's giving you corrections. But very often there's so many corrections that your brain is exploding and you just can't think about everything at once. So what I personally like to do is I take one, maybe two things at the most during a practice. I try and retain the information of the other corrections, but I try to concentrate really just on one thing, maybe two. Because you think about one thing, forget about the other, right? So if you're thinking about, hips and grounding, then leave the arms for now, or vice versa, because also these movements take time and to put everything together. So don't worry too much. Now we're just gonna learn some steps and some arms and really talk about what we want to say in this piece, because each piece we do is a little bit different. You guys usually let me make a choice, which is nice. I like to hear what you want to do. So in this one, so it's a song by Rihanna, Lift Me Up, which you probably have heard, but if not, it's a very beautiful song. It was written kind of in memoriam, and DJ Tronky has done an arrangement of it. He's put the bachata beat into it, which is done quite a bit in bachata particularly. Salsa usually has its own songs because the rhythm is a little more complicated, but bachata, it's just kind of that square rhythm, so it's easy to put into other songs, which is great because you can hear some of your favorites and still do have some good steps you can do to it. So what we're gonna try and do, there's a little bit of a contrast where she kind of slows up on the lift me up parts. So we're gonna do about two parts of that song. We're gonna do the first one, which we're gonna try and really practice our basic bachata movements and add some stuff in. And in the second one, we're gonna pick it up a little and do some bachata, but kind of bigger movements and maybe something a little more fluid because, we like to do contrast and in songs, at least I do in my choreography. If it's too square, I kind of start to think, it's a little bit flat, to change directions and to do contrasting movements, to not always stay square. It makes it a little more complicated to learn, but it's also more interesting when somebody's watching you. So that's kind of the reason for that. We're just gonna start it today and then we're gonna carry on tomorrow. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have the get ready for the day routines, beginner one at 6:30, and then we hop right back on for the intermediate one. And it's just a really good kind of way to wake up your body and get ready for the day, even if you're not dancing, but it's also a good warm up for what we're doing here. So we're going to do that and then we'll continue tomorrow. I know I talked a lot about other stuff today, but that's all important when we move into the choreography, that we have base technique. Like in ballet, my whole life, we began with what we just called class, which was class. So even as a professional, every morning, and this is required, you are not allowed to just say, okay, maybe I'll sleep a little, got to bed late after a performance last night. You have to be there, and that's, an hour, give or take, of basics. You hold on to the bar, you exercise one leg then the other, you come to the center, you repeat kind of similar exercises at the center, and then you start to jump, you start little jumps, you go on to the big ones, and that's the core of your life. You do that every day because when you actually start to dance, you don't have time for basics, and nobody's gonna teach you a basic thing when you have limited time and they want to get you on stage as quickly as possible. That's the business. So they're just worrying about the choreography, the nuances, and that kind of thing. So anyway, that's the explanation for that. So we're gonna start with all of our weight on our left leg, bend it, and just kind of rest this one out here, but don't really want any weight on it. So I'm turning this one out a little for balance, right? Because if they're parallel and you're going down, your balance is gonna be a little weaker. If you turn it out a little bit, you can give yourself a bigger base. And your audience is not gonna see how much you have it out from the side, right? Because if you're facing forward, if you've got something like this, it doesn't look so good. But your audience can't see that, so if you need a little more stability, just keep it there. And she starts very slowly, so I'm gonna start with kind of a bowed head. So I want you to look like you're looking down, but one thing you have to be conscious of is you don't want to slump your shoulders. You don't want this kind of look. So you want the shoulders pulled back, but you're tilting a little forward and your head is going down, so you give the impression of looking, kind of being towards the ground. And don't bow all the way, you're gonna be looking at it at diagonal and looking down at your hand. So she's gonna say, lift me up, and with that, you are going to raise your hand up, and with it, your head. So you're following your hand with your eyes. When you're lifting your arm, think about, again, even though you can't really see it, think about the impulse coming from your elbow. So your elbow is lifting it up, and it's like your elbow is not only lifting your whole arm up, it's lifting your chin up. Lift me up. But we're gonna start with, actually, our chins coming up first. You want that parallel movement, but your arm is gonna have to catch up. So you're looking, lift me up. So you're gonna start with your head, lift me up. Your arm is gonna catch up. Lift me up. And on the way down, we're gonna start with the head, the arm is gonna follow and catch up. So, lift up. Hold me down. That's what we're doing here. And then as she says, keep me safe. We're gonna slide this foot in. Now it's important, as you see here, the weight shift. All my weight is here, so I don't have to make any other movements to bring my right leg in. Because otherwise you're gonna have a lot of little movements as you get to where you wanna be. We wanna mostly avoid those, so we already wanna have our weight planted on our left leg. So we got, keep me up, hold me down, and we're gonna slide this in, and our arm's gonna slide in with it. So we're bringing everything in, making ourselves small. So, and a little hug for ourselves. So again, I have a tendency to slump a little when we do this. Try not to, try and keep your shoulders straight and just bring everything together. And let's give a little rock with that. She says, keep me safe. Now here, most of my weight is on my other leg, but here you really do want to keep more in your center because you are moving your upper body. Now again, this is something we talked about, just moving your upper body, keep it safe, and just bring your elbows up over your head and looking up. And this, she has 4 phrases, but we're only going to do 3 of them. Again, I'm trying to make like a little contrast of things so it's not square. So if we're always moving on the same beat, again, after a while it's going to create a little monotony, so I'm going to try and change tempos a little. So instead of filling that last phrase in your arms, we're just going to bring them up and we're going to stay there before we go into our bachata movements. So we're staying here, and move your shoulders, lift me up, hold me down, keep me safe in your arms. And then we're going to take our right and swing it around to the opposite diagonal. So we usually have diagonals here, and I'm gonna have this arm, I'm gonna get the movements, try and make it from your elbow, and then the other one is gonna join it. And we're gonna give that a swing as we move into our bachata, which we're gonna continue tomorrow, because I talked a lot today, but I think it's important to discuss kind of some of the technical things, nuances when we go into it, so it makes learning the choreography a little bit easier. Just repeating. Lift me up, hold me down, keep me safe in your arms. So when you're in your arms, you're gonna have to hold it here. So be patient, the music will keep going, but you wanna look a little bit up, like looking into the sky, but to the distance. And after that, we're gonna just swing your right arm, your left arm, and it's like that's gonna take us into our bachata. So let's repeat that a couple more times, put it to the music, and then we are going to continue that tomorrow. Okay, so beginning pose. Lift me up, hold me down, keep me safe. Your arms. All right, let's repeat that once more. Any questions, put them down in the comments, or you can always ask anything in between two. We'll try and get back to you before the next one, but we are here to help you and answer any questions you have, so just feel free to ask. So, out here, and lift me up, hold me down. All right, do you want to try putting that to the music, just this little beginning part? And tomorrow we are going to move on to the rest of it, or at least part of the rest of it, because we go through slowly, we discuss things, and we repeat them. But as we talked a lot about other stuff, just got to stick with this today. Lift me up, hold me down, keep me close, safe and sound, burning in a hopeless dream. And we're gonna get into our bachata from there. So at least we got started a little bit, and we will continue on tomorrow. So I hope you join me for the continuation. You can always go back and watch the lives, but I don't know, I love having you guys here with me to do it together. And we've got our morning routines, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, beginner at 6:30, the more intermediate one after that, although we may have to switch up times a little because I always take too much time in each one because we're building up slowly but surely. And sometimes I'm gonna hop on afterwards just for a stretch, makes it so much nicer when we can chat, and I encourage you to stretch too, not necessarily what I'm doing because I haven't really made a program for you guys yet as far as stretching, it's just what I do to warm up. So yeah, if you want to join me, I'm gonna hop on in a few minutes and just do a quick stretch and chat with you guys. So I'll be on again, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate it a lot that you're here, that you made it, that you're watching. And we're also buying me coffee if you want to support some more. Always happy to have that, but just really happy you're here. So with that, I'm going to leave you for now. If you want to stretch with me or just hang out, I'll be on in a few minutes. And good luck to you all, my fireflies. I will see you soon.